the following week, and then we're going to rock out some exam review, and then it'll be time to enjoy a lovely, safe, smart summer vacation. So, we have a lot of history to cover in a short span of time, but this is the good stuff. This is the sweet sauce, all right? So, get excited. When you guys are ready, we'll start to do some stuff. Today, what we got to cover kind of a lot today. Let me get this out of the way so I don't trip on myself here. Today what we have to cover is a couple different topics. So we're going to talk about the United States today in terms of when we joined World War I, when we came into the conflict. We're going to talk about the end of the war today. We're going to talk about the Treaty of Versailles, Woodrow Wilson's 14 points, and the League of Nations. And we will talk tomorrow about the Bolshevik Revolution, or the Communist Revolution in Russia, and talk about how when the United States joins the war, Russia drops out. And it's almost like the United States on some level kind of like replaces that allied power of Russia when they join in, and Russia has to pull out. Talk more about that later. So the way we're going to go about doing stuff today is first we're going to talk about U.S. entry into the war, and we're going to do a packet together. Then we're going to take some notes on the end of World War I and the Treaty of Versailles. And then you guys are going to get a total war assignment to work on your own. Okay? That's the game plan. Yeah?
When we joined the war, were Germany and Austria losing?
When we joined the war, they weren't losing. It was a stalemate. It was pretty much even keeled. And then when the U.S. joins, it tips the balance in the favor of the Allies.
All right, because I was thinking, like, if they're losing, if they sink our boat, that's kind of silly.
Well, the thing, and we'll talk about this more, but the thing is we had a lot of different factors that were influencing our decision to join the war, not just the sinking of the boat. A lot of it had to do with where our money was going and our financial investments in the winners.
So,
yeah. Sorry, what did you think?
Do you think that if we sided with Germany and Austria, that they would have won? Do you think we were the full deciding factor in that war?
I mean, I think that our money was. I don't know if our men would have made a difference, but I think our money made a difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We ended up giving a lot more money to the Allies. If we had given as much money to the Central Powers, very much could have gone the other way. Yeah?
Do we get to watch the Crash Course video now?
So I have, starting a playlist of all my spring Crash Course videos, and I have like 5 on there, but that's between this class and my second period, and I want them all up there so we can just watch them in like a string of awesomeness. So, that being said, if you have not uploaded your Crash Course video, or if the person that has it filmed hasn't uploaded it yet, get on them, or if they are having issues with the upload process, tell them to send you the video so that you can try, because sometimes your phone might be able to do something that their phone can't. And if you're still having trouble, email me the video, and I'll upload it for you from the attachment, okay? So there's lots of options to get it done. Just let me know if you're having trouble. All right, so that being said, let's get into some U.S. entry into the war. Good stuff. And I'm going to pass out a packet, and this is a Miss Smith classic for sure. Put this thing together in my spare time. As you know, that's what I do with my spare time, put packets together about the United States entering World War I. And we will kind of walk through this stuff together.
I love you some packets, especially when they fold nicely, or you can flip the page back to the order differently.
First and foremost, put your name on there when you get it, because there's not a spot for your name, because in all of my excitement to put together a World War I packet for you guys, I forgot an I for your name. Silly teachers. And the slides that you'll see, they correspond to what's in the packet, but just because some of them require you to look at newspaper clipping headlines, and it's kind of difficult to decipher on the page itself, seeing it up there bigger will help with that. There you go. Okay, so everybody should have a packet come in their direction. Please put your name on it if you haven't already, and let's rock it out. The more efficient that we are and the more that you help me out as we do this, the better, because that's going to mean more time for you at the end of class to do your work, okay? I'm going to steal a seat over there and sit up here and do it with you. Will you do a halfsies with the lights for us, Alex? Doesn't really really matter. Just wanted everybody to be able to see what they're looking at on the page, but also see what's going on up here a little bit. Okay? Let's do the thing. Okay, so just a quick refresher. Beginning of the war, 1914 breaks out. There is absolutely no chance that the United States wants anything to do with what they considered Europe's problem. Let them fight. It's their conflict. Let them kill each other. We don't want anything to do with it. All right? So we had a openly declared policy of neutrality. And we weren't the only country in the world that was neutral, right? You remember places like Belgium that was also neutral. And when the Germans crossed through Belgian territory in that neutral land, that really ticks off the British because the Belgians and the British are tight. So just remember, at the beginning, they're neutral. And then 3 key reasons for why we enter into the war are these listed that you see underneath where it says German submarine boats, the U.S. investment in the Allies, and spreading democracy and political influence abroad. Okay? So if you look first at the quote, President Woodrow Wilson here is making an open statement in 1914 in front of Congress about our opinion and policy on the war. A little background on Woodrow Wilson. Wilson is probably the most educated of any of our U.S. presidents. So much so that he was considered by many Americans to be an elitist. He didn't appeal to the masses, you might say, because he was more of a upper class, highly intellectual gentleman, used a lot of very elevated language when speaking, really didn't appeal to the working class, sort of blue-collar nature of a lot of the agrarian farmers in America. So when you read Woodrow Wilson, just keep in mind this is a Harvard man, and he talks fancy because he's an elitist, but he's also probably one of the smartest presidents that we've ever had, okay? So here's what he says. The United States must be neutral in fact as well as in name during these days that are to try men's souls. We must be impartial in thought as well as action, must put a curb on our sentiments as well as upon every transaction that might be construed as a preference of one party to the struggle before another. All right, so that's him openly declaring neutrality. If you think about America, right, America is a nation of immigrants. So when World War I breaks out, you have German immigrants sitting in America, you got French immigrants, you got British immigrants, you got Austro-Hungarian immigrants. So if we were to pick a side right off bat at the beginning of the war, what you're going to create in America is a conflict among all those different immigrant groups, right? Because all the German immigrant groups are going to feel allegiance to the German cause. All French immigrants are going to feel allegiance to the French cause. So if we were to pick a side in 1914, that's going to polarize the population. It's going to make people go up against each other within our own nation. And that's one of his biggest reasons in the beginning of not picking a side, because he says, that's a mess. We're a melting pot of all these different immigrant groups. We pick one of these sides, Allied or Central, and either way we're screwed because we're putting ourselves in a position to have our own internal civil strife. Does that make sense? Okay, so looking at the first piece here, the first reason that the United States gets dragged into the conflict is something that happens with a German submarine boat warfare, okay? So this video, or sorry, not video, but this newspaper clip is the same one that you have here, just a little bit bigger and easier to read. So go through and answer some of the really sort of straightforward questions beneath it. Where the newspaper's from, what the headline says, making a guess what happened in this situation. Questions to this also continue on to the back side. And I'm not obviously reading out loud to you and going and talking through every single question. I think a lot of these are so straightforward that you don't need that extra step, okay? Just a little story about the Lusitania. Lusitania, think of it as almost like a Titanic boat, okay? It was a cruise liner, but it wasn't just a passenger ship. It had cargo on it too, and the cargo on it was weapons and money. The cargo ship was shipped off of the coast of North America and the intended destination was to get to Great Britain. So we were sending cargo to Great Britain. Germany gave the United States fair warning and said, if you put any of your stuff in these waters, we're going to sink your boat. We will torpedo you. The United States took a weighted, calculated risk, knowing that the Germans threatened that, and they did it anyway, okay? So America knew that this was a potential, but they did it anyway. It was calculated risk.
You can't just claim the Atlantic Ocean.
Exactly, exactly. What are we? We are capitalists. We want free trade. We should be able to trade with exactly who we want, when we want, how much we
should
want.
have been sending out battleships and whatnot. Start
Well, then we
blowing
wouldn't be
stuff
very
up.
neutral.
Oh, really? I was like, how do you claim an ocean?
Well, yeah, and even to this day, I mean, when we talk about like the idea of international waters, like international waters, all waters are international. What do you mean? They're all for all nations. How could we say like these are international waters and these are not?
There are actually like super strict rules on like who
Well, I mean,
gets
it's like
what
your
Yeah.
yard.
in water.
It's
land.
crazy. It's the same concept. They claim it like land.
Water's always moving, like there's no the same water. So
Well, it's like,
12
the
miles.
distance.
You can't like wrap it up and be like, this is my water right
Well, I
here.
mean, if you
Well, it's
have
an
like
irradiated
50,000 submarines, you know, right
Protecting,
close to your
yeah.
shore, I'd be nervous. 12 miles is the biggest.
I
Far
agree.
enough away where you can see them.
We'll talk, this is interesting too, because this has a lot to do with Vietnam. We'll talk about international waters in the sense of Vietnam and the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. Basically, when LBJ lied to Congress and said that we were attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin, which is off the coast of Vietnam, in order to get permission to send troops to Vietnam to start the war. I'm getting way ahead of myself. Okay, let's go back to World War I, rewind like 70 years, and we'll go back to that later. But, look at the next page on the back side. It says, what do you think the Lusitania was? If you haven't already answered that, it's a cruise ship, it's a cruise liner. But it wasn't just a passenger boat. Remember, it had cargo on it too. And we were trying to trade with the British. We were trying to do some business with the Allies. What other headlines can you make out on this little newspaper reel? China to accept Japan's demands, so obviously there's some conflict going on over there in Asia. What else?
Wall Street gets big shakeup.
Wall Street gets big shakeups, so there's something going on in our financial district at the same time. So write one of those for 4. And then take a look at 5. What sort of public reaction do you think that the U.S. had to this headline? You saw this when you woke up in the morning, just flashed across your newspaper. Say again?
super angry.
Super angry. A bunch of innocent people just died. A bunch of innocent American people, and we're neutral. So what's going on, right? Thank you so much. What else? Well, do you think you're gonna, what? Go ahead, Casey.
They're probably afraid.
Afraid? Absolutely. Are they going to attack us more? Are they going to continue these launched attacks? What else?
I would be wondering if I knew anyone on that boat.
If anybody what?
If I knew anyone that was on
Absolutely. It's like that moment when 9/11 happens and everybody's wondering if the people that they know in New York City are safe. Everybody starts calling their people, you know? Absolutely. Or you think they're going to read it and be like, oh, that sucks, moving on.
No.
What are we going to do?
Something else.
We got to do something about it. We got to retaliate. We're not just going to let them take hundreds of American lives away without stepping up to the plate and taking that next step. Number 6, why would the U.S. be getting attacked if we were neutral?
Because Germany threatened to shoot it down if they entered certain waters and they warned them.
So
but
angry.
still, we were in water.
Yeah.
Once
Well,
you put it in glass.
They weren't claiming any water, they were just restricting trade with Britain because they were in a war with Britain.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
They were
It
stopping,
does,
they
yeah.
were stopping all trade from
They're just
countries.
trying to blockade the British ports so
They
that
weren't-
nothing
they
can
weren't
get
saying
in
these
and
are
out,
our
because
waters.
then if they can
They-
cut off the supply lines, then they're gonna starve out the army, you know what I mean, from the things that they need.
They weren't saying that there are waters, you can't come in, they were saying you can't trade with Britain.
Yeah, it's definitely more about halting the trade, for sure, than it is about saying this is our water, right? But it definitely reminds me of what is it when we claimed all of the Western Hemisphere, what's it called? Monroe Doctrine, absolutely. It's kind of the same concept where we basically put arbitrary borders like, okay, this is our stuff to trade with and you guys can't trade over here. Yeah.
So, like, when you said Germany, Germany
Bless you.
didn't want like our stuff over there,